War is hell. Can you tell by my face? Hello everyone and welcome to another Into the Void Real Review. This time we are reviewing Civil War. Civil War is like The Walking Dead, the movie, where humans are the real monsters in this apocalypse, minus the zombies. Because let's be real, humans can be so much worse when a certain political agenda is involved. Civil War starts in the midst of the states being aligned with certain other states. California and Texas being allies is a big stamp on this movie that everyone is aware of from the get-go. America is in shambles. Flying anywhere is a no-go. The power grid is as sketchy as a cat in a dog kennel. Roads are littered with empty cars left abandoned. A scene that reminded me of an early episode of The Walking Dead, which is why I do draw some correlation from it to this. Civil War seems to hit harder because it's something that hits too close to home, reminding us that we don't have far before we make true the adage that life sometimes imitates art. Kirsten Dunst plays the famous photographer Lee, whose face says it all. She has seen some things that has created emotions that bubble just below the surface, and you can be sure by movie's end they come back to haunt her soul. You have Jesse, the upstart journalist, played by Carolee Spaney, who is the counterpoint to Lee. She doesn't know what she's gotten herself into, but is full of that youthful vigor that can quickly learn to shoulder and adapt to anything that comes their way. In fact, all the horror becomes a sort of rush that she quickly becomes addicted to. This is readily apparent after the best scene in the movie that stars Jesse Plemons, who, by the way, is married to Kirsten Dunst, fun fact. Everyone who has reviewed this movie seems to be in agreement that he steals the show as a mild-spoken soldier with an itchy trigger finger, eager to know what kind of American everyone is.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here.
What? Well, you're American.
Okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you? You don't know?
After Jesse and a friend of Joel's, played by Wagner Moura, get kidnapped, it's up to the rest of the crew to find them. They run into the culprits, a group of soldiers led by Jesse Plemons, Craig's character, who are dumping bodies. This leads to one of the tensest scenes this year thus far. I'm not going to go into the specifics because that would ruin everything. After this scene, Jesse confides in Lee that she never has been as scared as she was at that moment, but at the same time, never has she felt more alive. It's quite the dichotomy. Jesse from this moment seems to change to a woman who is still scared but also sort of in love with the idea of being on the front lines of death. A lot of this movie is seeing the emotional arc that Lee and Kaylee go through from the beginning of their journey to where they end up once they reach Washington, D.C. They sort of switch places, which is interesting in itself outside of the overarching plot of the chaos that America as a society goes through after being divided through political dissension. There's the microcosm and the macrocosm, both in this movie. This movie definitely shows that once you invite chaos into your soul as a person or nation, it can be very difficult to steer the metaphorical ship back on track. It's a warning that the movie seems to preach over any overarching political stance, which I really appreciate. Any side you fervently stand for, it matters not if it creates such devastation to infrastructure and home that we have nothing to fight for. Something to think about for sure. Civil War has a great vision to it, along with realistic sound effects that will have you jumping every time you hear a gunfire or a building exploding. In fact, so great is the sound that it may be enough to trigger, pardon the pun, PTSD in some individuals. You would never have guessed this is an A24 film on these two things alone, but it is there nonetheless. Piece that together with a story that can be thought-provoking after you leave the theater, and you have a very solid political thriller. I'm not one to get too excited about these types of movies, but I can say that this one is enjoyable. Be warned though, it is a somber movie. If you're not in the mood for that, maybe don't watch until you're ready for something serious like this. I'm giving Civil War an 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and I will see you the next time when we venture into the void. Now, where's my RBF at? Right here.